ever since we started the Can We Talk podcast, it's kind of made me enthusiastic about R&B again. I've been listening to a lot of my favorites from the 80s, 90s and beyond, and also, before that. But I've been listening to music, and people, some of the, the fans we've made from this podcast have been sharing new songs and old songs and their opinions, and I love it. And the common thing I keep coming across for myself, I'm listening to these old songs like and if I ever fall in love again, and I can love you like that. You remember these songs?
No, the first one, sure, yes.
You can't remember I can love you like that. I can give you my world. You don't remember that? That's from All for One. This is no ordinary love.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
No ordinary love. Um, I mean, there's so many songs that are beautiful and they're love songs. And I wonder, listening to all of the newer stuff that's out now, and I'm like, what happened to the love song? Because we have R&B today, but of the R&B that I do hear, I rarely hear an actual love song, a song that celebrates that person that you have you admire, or you're in love with, that shows them value, that you're pleading your heart to them. I don't hear that much anymore, and I feel like a lot of the songs that we have today are they 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 almost make you feel disposable. Almost, it's not even love anymore. It's can you do these things for me? So how do we get to that point? Or do you think I'm wrong? Do you think that there are love songs out there?
I mean, Donnell Jones, you and I interviewed him, that was the what he mentioned. He says that he believes there was an agenda by the labels to remove love from the records, because he says that back in those days when they performed, that there were all sorts of artists singing about love in different ways. Some he started naming himself and Maxwell and Joe and R. Kelly. Everybody sang about love in a very different way. But today, that's the agenda isn't pushing that type of love, that type of romance, that type of if you think of Music Soul Child, I just want to know your name, and how maybe we can just very innocent, sort of like, let's just get to
Last night I saw you standing.
Yeah,
those songs.
Yeah, it's a very. So that was what we were hearing, and they were the songs that we could all relate to, understand, even if we're going back to the '60s with, the Temptations, My Girl, talking about My Girl, Hurling Through the Grave, all those songs. There was a conversation. There was in it. I have no idea when I listen to people like either Chloe Bailey, her, they all sound in Imani. They all sound the same. No idea what they're saying in it. It's the focus is less on what they're singing.
That's probably
the visual of how they're interpreting the song in their dance and their stuff. So that's the shift, the change.
But do you think it's a conscious effort specifically for urban Black music to remove the love? Because I hear Adele just released a new song, and she got like 11 million views in one day off of her video. And even though her songs are usually sad love songs, but yeah, it's like their stuff is just automatically boom. With our stuff, it's almost like, yeah, we're not going to promote that. We just want to have either the over sexualized stuff, or we want the club banger kind of stuff.
But
and I feel like we're missing.
It's an agenda. That's what Donnell said. Look, it's an agenda to deliberately take it out. And so in this country, we have, how you have General Hospital and Days of Our Lives and The Young and the Restless, your soaps. in this country, those soaps are normally in the evening. So from about 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. So those general hospitals. So, and in a sense, they're said to mirror what's happening to society. Most of us believe that they actually try and set the agenda for society. So whether it's promoting infidelity, whatever the agenda they want to promote, that's what will dominate what's on TV, and people watch, and then it just becomes like, okay, this seems to be the norm, and things like that. It is. So when there's an agenda to say this is what we want, the message we want to portray, then that's what we're buying in. That's, from the writers and the networks would say this is what's popular, this is what people want. The same thing's happening within R&B, to some extent hip hop, where it's like we want to show, this is what we want to showcase.
Right.
And
But I personally I don't want to completely take that reason off the table, but I feel like saying that it's an agenda takes all the responsibility off of the artist. I think artistry, we're talking about art, and are we saying that the artists are not being true to themselves? Because I have a different angle. I think that maybe we as society has changed. We have changed. Maybe the things we valued, um, maybe our values have changed, our ideals have changed, different movements and ideals have shifted the conversation about relationships. And so maybe art is imitating life, and life is maybe even imitating art. I do remember a shift when Destiny's Child came out with the Independent Women or Independent Ladies song, and the Bills, 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 and the No Scrub from TLC. I think that started a shift a little bit. And I noticed a lot of music changing around that era. And I think I don't want to blame feminism, but I think there's certain ideals that have taken a hold of our culture. And so no longer the Ready or Not by After Seven even seems realistic to people. I'll give you the moon or whatever that song, the lyrics is just kind of like out there, grabbing the moon from out of the sky, giving it to a lady. But the point is, it's like, have we become cynical as a society when it comes to love? Do we believe in that kind of love anymore? So will we have a place for on the on bended knee type song, or all these love story based fantasy love songs? Because I think that society is a little different now. We're a little bit more materialistic, a little bit more microwave. We want things now. The divorce rate has also risen substantially over the last couple of decades. I think that when you talk about generational, millennials watch a rise in divorce, and a lot of them lost their family structures where their parents divorced, and the generation after that have also dealt with the same thing. So do we have the same idea about love that we would have had maybe prior?
Yeah, but then it's with anything.
I mean, did that make sense? I hope I made sense there. Yeah. That was just me free thinking.
But with anything, it's as an artist, you go into the studio, you're signed to a label who says we're going to put money behind this, and you're saying, okay, I want to do Bruno Mars now. So he's earned his ability to put out whatever he wants because he's shown that he has the artistry and stuff. And the label, Warner Brothers, will generally back him. And he decided, I want to team up with Anderson .Paak to create this new supergroup and do some sort of throwback, because it worked with the New Jack in my last album. Now I wanted to go further back. And they're like, okay, you've shown you can do it. We'll back you to some extent. Who is, Imani decides to try and do and why don't we fall in love? They're like, ooh, you know, that's so, you know, late 90s, early 2000s. It's not working like that. We need Cardi B type of stuff. That's how to get the attention. We need the videos to relate to that. Or we're not going to back you. We're not going to spend $1 million on a video, and we're not going to spend another 2 million pushing you on social media. That's where it is. So it's not about artistry. It's like you're not paying for it. You know, someone's giving the money up front to tell you what they want you to perform. When, you know, people who had the clout, Michael or Prince, that they're not around anymore, who could say, this is what we're going to do, and then the labels sort of have to go with it. So my feelings is that the artists, you know, even if people like Alicia Keys wrote about love and relationships, who their album came out and disappeared, there was not much push and backing. The way music is consumed now, it is for a generation that just has that what they want to listen to is what the artists are pushing out. There is still R&B artists who are writing about love and relationships, but they're independent and they're getting their message out by themselves. But all in all, I think we will have to get back to showcasing independent artists who are writing about, you know, going back, who are still maintaining that legacy, but just don't have the financial pushing and backing to really make a name for themselves.
Well, I respect your viewpoint and your opinion. I just disagree. I think that I don't disagree that there is an effort to control what is promoted and pushed in R&B. So yes, I do think that people are telling R&B artists or artists in general what will sell. But I disagree that I feel like artists have to be artists, and at some point, are you an artist if you're going to allow this level of control to be had over you? So if you now Nnamdi, I don't look at Nnamdi as an artist. I look at her as
which artist has that
artist.
kind of
which artist
has that kind of pull though? Which artist can just put out what the Neo talked about his first album? He didn't, you know, the first one he recorded. They, I think he was on Columbia at first before he moved to Def Jam. He says, you know, they wanted him to sound like somebody else, and you know, he didn't like the stuff, and they shelved the album. They don't have. If you're signed to a major, you can't control what you put out unless you've had 2 big hits, you know, an album that's hit, and they can give you like a Bruno Mars, okay, or an Adele, will give you the opportunity to do what you want. But if you haven't, you can't just. You can't just.
Well, Neo is a songwriter, so he does control what he writes, and
but not his first album.
When Neo came out, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not his first album that got released on Def Jam, on Def Soul. He was first signed to Columbia. He says that they changed what he wanted to present. They wanted him to sound like, I think, Joe, and he said that he hated the album and they shelved it. He got released from his record deal, and then he signed with Def Jam, and he got them. But when he wrote for others, and they saw the hit, they gave him an opportunity. But he said he didn't have the ability to do that.
The situation you just described is an artist fighting and saying, "No, this is not me," and it clearly did not work because the label ended up shelving the album and dropping him. He had to prove, just like Lloyd, R&B singer Lloyd had to prove as well. He, you know, he had a project that was going a certain direction, and he put out a song independently, and it changed the whole direction of his album because this album was not going to take off unless he had success. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I do feel like artists have a responsibility. You got in the game because you're talented, and because there's a difference between an artist and a recording artist. I think some of the people you're mentioning, like Nnamdi, she's going to sing whatever is put in front of her. She's not the person like in the kitchen writing the songs. She's like a Paula Abdul or somebody like that they're just giving her songs to sing and they're hoping they'll work. Whereas an artist like now Neo is an artist. He is somebody that is writing songs, creating concepts, and he has a vision. There's a different types of artists. TLC, I'm gonna go there because all the TLC fans will come from me. But at the end of the day, there are different types of artists. People don't like to admit it, but Aaliyah is the same kind of artist that a Normani is. Somebody brought material to her, cultivated her image. So these aren't people that have much say in what they put out. However, those are tend to be the artists that sell millions and millions of records because they're marketed in a more manufactured way. Whereas you have artists like Erykah Badu and D'Angelo that they're just at the core, they're authentic to what they do, and they can't write a song like R. Kelly, or they're not going to write a song like Whitney Houston. That's not their brand. So
Yeah, but those
I
artists
think,
those creative ones, they're not. No majors are backing them. You know, when I had Jimmy Love from Uptown, he says, "Look, no one's going to sign Jill Scott. She may be more talented than Cardi B, but
mhm.
she's not going to sell anything, so no one's going to back them." So it's not that an
Now,
artist doesn't. Yeah, well, we're talking about today. We're not talking about in the
yeah,
'90s and the late early 2000s where people had there was everyone took risk and everyone was buying into music social child and all that stuff. Today, it's was pushed. Whether it's Cardi B, whether it's Megan Stallion, all these. I don't even know the names of all of them. They all sound alike. They all look alike. They all videos all alike from Lizzo's and rest. And they're all singing the same stuff. And the labels are pushing millions of dollars. You see them on social media. You see them on YouTube. You see them on
right.
TV. They're pushing, and the quality of the videos. You're not getting the people like the Jill Scotts and Erica Badu.
Yet, because what happens is
You're saying yet as
somebody
if
has to.
who's going to
No,
push?
what I'm saying is with all these different movements, because the neo soul was a movement as well. It took a D'Angelo to open the door for an Erica Badu. There's going to be someone that's going, just like Cardi B. She is actually piggybacking off of something that was established, but people were not signing female rappers like they are today. So there's going to take an artist that, and it could be the Kevin Rosses, it could be I mean, there's so many artists out right now that we are under the radar, but there are artists that are bubbling under that are making noise, and all it takes is that one hit to show, hey, there is a market for this, and next thing you know, we'll have several R&B artists or R&B groups. All it takes is one. Right now, there's several R&B groups signed to majors, but they're waiting for someone to land a hit. If they can get a significant enough hit, next thing you know, there'll be several R&B groups out. It's just that they're not working right now. But I get what you're saying. We can respectfully
Yeah,
disagree. I
yeah,
just don't think
yeah.
that's completely the answer. I think it's also the other stuff I mentioned earlier was societal. I think that a lot of the youth market, a lot of the music is either representing where people are now, because I do think that a lot of people don't have that old chivalry type thing and all that built into their psyche of how they go about life. They don't, I think that we have become cynical about love a little bit too. So I think that also plays a part in the habits of people. I do think people want love, don't get me wrong. They do want love, but it's just the way it was packaged before is not realistic for the youth of today. And as
Yeah,
far
but
as
but
people
but
my
this is
age,
but then you're talking specifically R&B because country still has its love music and its relationship music and it's like sorrow music. You talked about Adele. She is
mhm,
writing about her relationship. People, Sam Smith, here in the UK, a lot of, well, they're all British, but a lot of them still are able to write about love and relationship,
right.
and it gets airplay. It's just that there's
But
still a market for that, and still an audience for that. But within R&B, with
there
then
is, but I'm focusing on Black culture. So when specifically I'm talking about that. So now, yes, divorce rates are up all across the board,
yeah,
but I think that there's another conversation that has to be had about Black relationships right now. And in general, when we talk about country has been dirtied up a little bit too. So it's pop. If you listen to a lot of those songs, they have heavy influence with urban music, hip hop records, and etc. They have a lot of songs that where they used to have like broken-hearted songs and stuff like that. Now they got some of the same kind of themes from urban hip hop and R&B in their songs. We talk about Adele, but Adele rarely talks about being in love and happy in love. Her songs are usually sad, broken-hearted songs. You know, I mean, I wish we could bring up some more people. Bruno Mars does not have what's love songs. When I talk about love songs, I'm talking about songs that are valuing the person, telling them how much they love that person, how much they're happy to be in love. Those kind of songs that we used to hear, not songs that are just talking about getting in the bedroom, leave the door open. I'm talking about love songs. I'm talking about, you know, the songs I mentioned. If I ever fall in love again, listen to those lyrics. That person is smitten, they're in love with somebody. And I feel like we don't have any songs like that in the mainstream. Now, yes, pop does have that, but again, that's for a different demographic and a different, I mean, again, we can go into that. We can really
Yeah.
go into that for
Anyway,
a long,
we'll
long time. We
we'll
disagree.
revisit. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.